True love. But the topic of today is irrational love leads to hatred. Irrational love leads to hatred. Yesterday I mentioned an example of irrational love. Irrational love, one of the examples of irrational love is the story we saw in 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel 13, 2 and 15. You can read the whole chapter. The whole chapter of 2 Samuel 13 is talking about an irrational love. This is a perfect example of the topic of today. When Amnon is one of the grandsons of David, and the son of Absalom, the one that betrayed the father, and he fell in love with his stepsister, and the stepsister was Tamar. Now, they have the same father, but different mothers. So, actually, were they grandchildren? I think they were children, no? I think they were children of, I think they were children, were they children of David or the grandchildren? I think they were probably children, right? They were children, yeah, they were children of David. They were actually children of David, not grandchildren, children. So Amnon was the step brother to Tamar, and they were in love. He was so much in love with her because she was attractive. But the fact that you are in love with somebody is not. You cannot just be in love with anybody. And like now, I'm married. The fact that I'm in love with anybody, I can have feeling for another person, but that doesn't make it legitimate. So this was an irrational love because it was illegitimate. But in his own case, it was so irrational that Amnon got sick. He couldn't even get out of bed without thinking about this girl. And not just thinking about her, he was so much in love with her, he couldn't even get out of bed. He couldn't go to work, he couldn't do anything, he couldn't function. He did everything to make his parents allow him to marry the sister. Of course, the parents would not agree to that. David refused that, and all the relatives and family disagreed with his decision to want to marry the sister. So what did he do? He went and consulted with friends. And friends want their friends to feel better. Friends are cheerleaders, and friends are for comfort. Friends are cheerleaders, and one of the reasons why you want friends is because you want comfort. So they advise him on what to do. And what they advise him to do is that he should lay down in bed and pretend to be sick, and then ask his sister Tamar to be the one to come and look after him. And this lady was thinking, oh, if my brother is sick and he says I should come and look after him, definitely I will do that because, my brother is sick. I will do what I need to do to get him to be well. But you know what? While she was sick, she was looking after him, he was overcome by his emotions, and he raped her. But he was so much in love with her that he slept with her. But now, what irrational love does is what happened as a result. So what happened as a result? After he raped her, he wanted her so bad that after he got her, he started having the opposite feelings, opposite emotions. So what was the big uncontrollable love before became big uncontrollable hate. He started hating her so bad, hated her so bad that he actually sent her away from the house, disgraced her, humiliated her, and hated her with more passion, with a greater passion than the passion he had, that he was, the passion of love that he had for her before. So let's read the story here. 2 Samuel 13:2 says, Amnon was so distressed over his sister Tamar that he became sick, for she was a virgin, and it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her. Then Amnon hated her Oh, so after everything, after, the story that I've told you, right? After he had been with her and everything, so let's see the result. Then he hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, arise, be gone. So he chased her. That's the height of humility for a lady. I mean, you disvirgined her, you took away her honor, then you disgraced her. You disgraced her twice. That's what the lady said at the end of the day, that what you have done to me now is actually worse than the rape itself, because you have now disparated me or disgraced me publicly. And that led to a whole lot of other problems among the families, among the brethren. What the whole idea of the lesson I'm trying to teach today is the fact that, you remember, this whole thing is about knowing and understanding God through love. So how does this have relation? What is this teaching us about love? The lesson about love, through love, we get to know God, right? So what is it teaching us about love today? What is teaching us about love is that irrational love, any love that doesn't have meaning, any love that is irrational, will lead to hatred. Now, that was the extreme case of irrational love that I just gave to you, right? The example of, somebody, getting sick and raping another person. That is totally extreme, right? But let's talk about other irrational love that happens. Okay. A lady comes to the mother and says, I'm in love with my classmate. And the mother and the parents definitely will say, oh, you are just 17 years old, or you just finished high school. And how can you be in love with your classmate when he is also 17 like you, or he's just 18? And how will you sustain each other? How will he sustain you? Oh, mommy, I'm in love. We've all heard such stories of young men, young kids coming back home to say they are in love and they want to marry. But what they don't think about is that they are not thinking about the fact that the so-called boyfriend or husband doesn't have any means of sustenance. So he is not working, he cannot sustain her, number one. Some of them, these people who come with irrational love, some of them are just finishing high school, some of them have not finished college, some of them have not even gotten admission to university. These things are irrational. So what I'm saying is that irrational love, most likely, almost 100% will end up with in hatred. Almost, okay, you think about it. Maybe some of you who are watching me right now, you had once been in love too. Have you once been in love? Has all those love been rational? Maybe for you, maybe you are lucky, but for some of us who are teenagers, were you a teenager before? If you have ever been a teenager and you were unbeliever in the world, you probably had an idea of boyfriend and girlfriend. Do you know that most of the boyfriend experiences always ended up in hatred? And that especially after a hot passion and hot declaration of love. Like, for example, I remember that there was a girl that I was dating when I was in Nigeria. I was 17, maybe 16. And I was dating this girl. I was an unbeliever, definitely. I really liked her so bad so I cooked up then I dated her from 16 to when I was 19. And then at 19, just before I got saved, I knew that I was going to travel overseas. I just knew that inside me somehow that I'm going to travel overseas. So I'm older than her by 2 years, I guess. So I was 19 and she was 17. So we thought we loved each other. We thought we loved each other so bad that we knew that the parents, I said, okay, before I leave the country, let's marry. So that when I leave the country and I marry you, then I will come back and we will still be together forever. So she was 17. So the parents would not allow us to marry. So what we did was we were going to get her pregnant. And once she's pregnant, then they will not be able to, stop us. and I was going to travel abroad. Then they would discover that she's pregnant. Thank God I got saved since about a few months later. But the idea is, a few years down the line, I discovered that she was actually pregnant. Later on, after I left, 1 year after I left the country, she was pregnant for another guy. She carried out a plan, not with me, but with another guy. And right now, you know what she's doing? She's selling right there in the street of Lagos. You know some of those people you see in the street in Lagos, right in the middle of the street, who's selling food and selling all those things? That's what she's doing right now. But I was thinking, later on after I got saved and God saved me from that plan, I was thinking, my God, what a foolishness. What a foolishness could that have been? I would have just ruined my life. What a foolishness. You see, irrational plan, irrational love. That was an irrational love. And a lot of people are engaged. I can remember, not just that girl. Before that girl, I had some other girls that I was in love with. Then we fought. Everything ended up in hatred. Why? Because irrational love. There was one of the girls that I was so in love. Then I discovered that she was also dating my boyfriend, my friend. Oh, wow. So that leads to anger, hatred. So irrational love. What I'm trying to say is that you've got to make your love rational. If you are just finishing high school and you say you are in love, forget about it. That's not rational. Why is not rational? Because you don't have anything to sustain each other. It's irrational. It's just like my children. We were having youth HMT. By the way, we are planning to also have youth HMT this year. If some of you are if you are interested, I think, what's her name again? Is it Idore or what's the name? Is it Idore, right? Idore wants to be the one to coordinate that. So if you want to send your children for youth HMT this year, get in touch with, I think it's Idore Shaus, right? Well, I think that's her name. Idore Shaus, and get in touch with her and let her coordinate this for you. And, if we have enough. Anyway, we're having this HMT, and my children were there for HMT to share some of their experience with growing up in Adelaja family. Then some of the parents who were there asked my children and said, Perez, you are now 17, he was 17 that time. And Zoe, you are 15, Pearl, you are 13. Do you have issues with boyfriend, love, dating? And how do you deal with it? Then Perez and the girls answered and said, we have been taught and we know that trying to have boyfriend and girlfriend and date right now doesn't make any sense. Even Perez will still tell you the same thing now, he's 20, that it doesn't make any sense because it's not going to end well. Because how can I be dating now when I know that I've not finished my college? How can I be dating now? I don't know who I'm going to become, when and how. I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I don't have anything to sustain. So it doesn't make any sense to date now when there's no perspective for it. It's not rational. So we have told them, because they came to us, our children came to us asking these kind of questions, like, dating and, okay, just ask them how rational it is for you to date. Can you look at me? I'm your dad, right? Look at the house where we live in, okay? Look at the people who are helping us. Look at the cars. Do you have all that to sustain a wife? Oh, no. Okay. So what should you focus on now? Education. Yes. Then go get a job. Yes. Everything has to be rational. But from where I come from, in Nigeria, in Africa, I remember my relatives in Nigeria were having 5 children, 6 children, 7 children. And I'm asking them, you people are not even educated. You don't even have a job. You don't even have a job. And you are having 5, 6, 7 children. That is irrational. And you're saying you are married, is marriage or is love? That is irrational. Irrational love leads to hatred. Have you ever heard of your children, or you too have ever had a thought that have you ever spoken to your parents that, why did you even bring me to this world? I've asked that question many times, especially when I was young. I queried my parents, I blamed them, I hated them, I cursed them. I cursed my parents. Why should you bring me to this world without a plan, without provisions, why? That is an irrational love. Irrational love will lead to hatred. Why was I hating them? Because they didn't think, they didn't make plans. So what is irrational? Irrational is something that you couldn't argue out logically. You couldn't make a sense of it. Why is it that you're going to be having 5 children? What is the argument? How will you take care of the 5 children? There are many other irrational aspects of love in Nigeria, in Africa, in Nigeria where I come from. For example, in Nigeria, people will tell you, if you marry, that you must make sure you get pregnant. You get your wife pregnant the very first year of marriage. In fact, not just the first year, you must have your child within a year of marriage. You must give birth to a child in the year. That means you have to be pregnant within 3 months of your marriage. And if you are not pregnant within 3 months of your marriage, they begin to cause trouble for you, as if you are the one, you are having a problem, and all kind of talks begin to go around, which is irrational. For you to be pregnant within the first year of your marriage is irrational. It will lead to some hatred, either between husband and wife or between children and parents. It is irrational. Every irrational love will lead to hatred. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that it is an irrational expression of love to try to be pregnant in the first 2 years of marriage, unless you marry too late and you're already over, you're already too old and you want to quickly have a child, maybe. But I don't believe that anybody who gets married should get a baby in the first year, in the second year, even the third year, maybe third year, but not earlier than 3 years in marriage. If otherwise, all other things is not logical, it's not rational. And those things that are not rational, when the children will come, or when the child comes, and when the pressure and the pressure of the child that you didn't prepare for is going to bring about hatred in your relationship or with your children. So any irrational life, there are different kinds of irrational love, will always lead to hatred. Just like people saying they are gay and they want to marry. Yeah, there are some people now, there are some countries now that are giving license to gay people to marry. But you know what happened? Because that marriage is irrational, they end up hating each other. They don't just divorce, but they hate each other. In fact, there are cases in America now where gay couples have killed each other. Why? Because it's an irrational love. Any love that is irrational, abnormal, is going to end up in hatred. Irrational love leads to hatred. Irrational love leads to hatred. So that was an example that I showed you of Amnon and Tamar. But there are other examples like that. Okay, let's go back again to our thesis, our quotation that we normally use. All problems in the world is a love problem. Either loving yourself too much, or not loving others as yourself, or loving others too much. All problems in the world is a love problem. A misdirected love is loving the wrong things, self and other things, instead of loving God as yourself. I would like us to look at a video here that shows to us that all problems that people have among themselves, all human problems, is connected to love. It is either we are loving ourselves too much, or we don't love others as ourselves, or we love other people too much. When we love other people too much too, it leads to hatred. All irrational love leads to hatred. Let's have a look at this particular video.